All right, we're going to fire this thing up and get going. A lot to discuss across not just Alabama, but quite frankly, all across the Deep South. There is a lot happening, some of it good, some of it not. So we'll dive straight into it here. I'm Josh Johnson. We're chatting weather, and I hope you'll forgive the tie. I've got to be on TV here in about 15 minutes. I always feel stuffy when we've got a tie in here. We'll adjust the camera a little bit. For those of you who are new to this whole thing, this is something we do from time to time. We just sit around and talk weather. So, major ice storm west of us. How about that? Man, this is a mess. Check it out. This is radar right now. Freezing rain and sleet. Batesville, Sardis, Hernando, Mississippi, Holly Springs, Mississippi, Jackson, Tennessee, Memphis. Whew. Yuck. There is not much worse than freezing rain, guys. And you head up towards Nashville, easy for me to say. On the southeast side of town, some of this is rain down towards Murfreesboro and back to Chattanooga. Some of this is ice on the northern flank of it. So this is a big mess. This is going to be a monster, or it is already a monster problem for a lot of people. We've got tens of thousands of power outages across Texas, Louisiana. I guess Louisiana not so much. Arkansas hit really hard in this situation. Western Tennessee, tons of car wrecks around Memphis in the last 24 to 36 hours. Now, here at home, a couple of things we got to talk about. So we've adjusted the forecast for tomorrow. We've got new data in throughout the day today that has it a little colder in spots tomorrow. So let me show you what I mean here. This is the high-res rapid refresh model, and I'll make it bigger because that's fun, right? And we'll zip you into tomorrow afternoon. There you see the big map. So this is valid at 5 o'clock. So let's do 3 instead. So Montgomery's in the mid and upper 50s. Dothan is in the 60s. Meridian, Mississippi, and Tuscaloosa and Birmingham are in the 40s. So the tricky part for us is this is a time frame where we're going to be sort of right on the edge. And if you live west and northwest of Montgomery, you probably stay in the 40s all day. Places like Demopolis, Linden, Marion, Uniontown, Brent, Centerville, Clanton, Jemison, Thorsby, you're in the 40s all day. Dothan, Geneva, Florala, you're pushing 70 in the afternoon. So these are tricky because it's not a one number scenario here. It really, the truth of the matter is there's a massive range in temperatures. So when you look at our little 7-day forecast on our weather app, just know, when we make that graphic, we have to pick one number. So check it out. There's the weather app on the side of your screen over there. So when you go to the daily forecast here, we have to pick one number. And right now we have 61 as the number for Wednesday. You see it there on the app. The weather doesn't work that way. It's not a one number kind of thing in this sort of setup here. This is a different animal with a huge range in temperature. So moral of the story here, tomorrow, central Alabama, Demopolis, you're in the 40s all day. Dothan, you're pushing 70. Prattville, Millbrook, Wetumpka, probably upper 50s to near 60 degrees. So it's a big change there. Now, the other thing we've got to talk about, it is going to rain cats and dogs, and maybe even a rhinoceros around here by Thursday night especially. So I'll go back in full screen here. Again, this is the high-res rapid refresh model. It's the best one we've got. There's Montgomery. You see it on the map there. So this is tonight. A couple of scattered, maybe just nuisance-style showers. Nothing to get wound up about. Same thing tomorrow. We can't rule out a sprinkle or shower, but tomorrow's mainly a dry day. Then here comes Thursday. Yeah, by Thursday morning, scattered rain already ongoing north and west of Montgomery. And then through Thursday afternoon and into Thursday night, here it comes. Yeah, this is 3 o'clock Thursday afternoon, and you see the same thing I see here, which is a whole lot of rain. Boy, it is pouring at this point. So this would be a pretty heavy rain kind of scenario here that we have ongoing. So rain, and a lot of it is the moral of the story here with this next sort of scenario. So that's not what I wanted to do at all. Let's do this. We will swap these out. Yeah, you don't need to see my bald forehead to get the weather, right? Okay, so this is Thursday afternoon into Thursday evening. This model only goes out 48 hours, but again, you've got the same picture I've got here, which is a whole lot of rain dancing around the state here throughout that whole time frame. Thursday afternoon, Thursday night, it is going to pour. Now, the good news is when we click in on this, and I'll take myself out so we can see everything on this map because it's a pretty important map. So this is a forecast sounding. This is what the atmosphere is going to look like three-dimensionally. And first thing I would point out to you here, I don't know if you can see it, but the surface temperature is 50 degrees. That is way too cold for severe weather. A little incursion of warm air aloft above the ground, that is a major no for severe weather. And the indices are in the same kind of boat here. We'll go back to the broader view, and that'll allow me to pop up the significant tornado parameter. It is useful. It's not the end-all, be-all that some make it out to be, but if you're just trying to look and get a kind of a rough draft of where there could be a tornado environment, it's pretty good. And you'll notice it's a nada, it's a zero, it's a zilch across the state. So we're not wound up about tornadoes in this setup. This is not a tornado sort of situation. Now, a couple of other things we need to discuss here. And we're doing mic checks now for the 10 o'clock news, so that'll get cranked up in about 10 minutes. So it's going to turn colder this weekend. Highs in the 50s, lows in the 30s kind of stuff. Not brutal, but cold. So, Trevor, your question, nothing severe. How long is the ice going to stay on the ground north of us, Chris? It should be gone by Friday into Saturday. The sun will help melt it a pretty good bit there. If you have questions, as always, jump in. Little Rock and Texarkana Wednesday morning. Another wave of ice is on the way for Little Rock and Texarkana Wednesday morning, Chris. So it's going to just kind of keep being messy in that part of the world. Okay, so let me show you this. This is a complicated map. There's no way to make it not complicated, but I love it. It has so much information for you on it that I'm just a really big fan. I'm going to make it as big as possible to sort of try to help with this. Well, I'm going to try to. Let's see, there we go. Okay, so this is, what you're looking at now is the European ensemble. So when we say ensemble, what we mean, they take the European computer model, they run it. Then they tweak one little thing, and they run it a second time. Then they tweak something else, and they run it a third time. Well, the end of that ends up being you get about 50 runs of the same model, and so you can smooth out some of the problems, some of the misses. So what do you see here? Well, a big dip to colder, a little colder tomorrow and Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're really cold. Highs in the 50s, lows down close to freezing Saturday morning. That's something we'll look at, by the way. Right now, our existing forecast, we've got 35 Saturday morning for Montgomery. Now, understand, even at that number, our colder spots would already be predicted to get to freezing. But the data here suggesting for Montgomery 32, which could put some of our outlying areas down around 30, 29, 28. So it's not a drip your pipes or drip your faucets kind of freeze or anything like that, but it will be cold. But then look at this. Yeah, an extended stretch of 60-plus degrees starting around Monday of next week and lasting through February the 14th. So we are at or above normal starting around the 6th of February on through about the 14th of February would be what this would sort of indicate. So if you are a snow fan, if you're wondering about snow and winter weather, this is not a good pattern for that. In fact, it is a downright terrible pattern for snow and ice where we live. Now, that's not to say it can't happen. Now, you look at what's happening in Memphis right now. You get the wrong storm in the wrong place at the wrong time, ice storm. And remember, this winter has been a warmer than normal winter, but you would have been hard-pressed to make that argument on Christmas morning when it was 15 to 20 degrees. So just because the pattern is warm for the next 2 to 3 weeks doesn't mean there won't be a problem with wintry weather. One could sneak in there, but that's what it would take. It would take a long shot kind of sneak attack where the cold air undercuts that subtropical jet. I saw my friend Brandon talking about that in the comments. It would take a thread the needle kind of thing where cold air undercuts the subtropical jet stream, and that gets you a little bit of a wintry mess. So right now we don't see that happening. What do we see in the long range? Well, glad you asked. I'll show you. We have seen some evidence at times of a severe weather risk out towards the end of next week. And the exact details kind of keep varying here, but here's the GFS run from earlier this afternoon. This is next Friday, the 10th of February, and you've got perhaps a little bit of a severe weather environment over Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama. So that would be something that we would kind of be interested in, obviously. We'll go back to the national perspective here and show you what that looks like with kind of your more traditional model map here. So ice storm now, see the pink and purple, that blows out. Another wave of ice north of us, Little Rock, Nashville, and points north. Then the rain comes through us. It's cold and dry. This is Saturday, Sunday. The GFS tries to throw us a random rogue shower in there Sunday. We don't buy that for now. We'll keep looking at it. Then we're dry. But then look what happens here. This would be next Friday night. You've got a very deep surface low over central Missouri, trailing cold front. And this could potentially be a strong to severe storm environment if the weather gets warm enough out ahead of it. The model sounding here suggesting that could happen. So again, just to put it on your radar, first alert, we like to do that. So potentially another strong storm setup out towards the end of next week. Now, that's a long way out. So don't get wound up about it or spooked by it or anything like that. We just like to show you the data. Okay, so we're going to wind this thing down now. It's 5 minutes until 10 o'clock. So I've got to go do some TV stuff now. So that's why I have the tie on, by the way. I don't like to do the tie when we're on Facebook and YouTube because it's a little stuffy. Isn't that interesting, by the way? Does anyone else feel like that ties are going away? You go to the store nowadays, there's not as many ties. You can't find them in as many places. You go to business meetings, things like that, civic groups. A lot of people aren't wearing ties anymore. So, I don't know. We'll see, right? Okay, I appreciate you all for hanging out with us. We'll do this more often as time goes on. Watch the weather app for updates. That's the actual first place that we actually told you about the colder trends in the data for tomorrow. So if you don't have the weather app, get it. WSFA Weather, just search for it wherever you get apps. And you really should have it. It really is very useful. It's a great way for us to talk to you. All right, so everyone, have a wonderful night. Brody, my man, new weather intern at WCBI, Brody Wesson. Brody came and hung out with us for a little while. He's a meteorology student at Mississippi State. Bright young guy. Got his head on straight. He'll go places. So, Brody, glad you're hanging out. Alexander, you have a good rest of your night, too. Brandon's exactly right. Anything over 7 days is sort of science fiction. But I like to share it with you. I want you to see what we see. And I will tell you this, too, that strong to severe storm signal has showed up several times in the last week. So typically, if it's just one run, I probably wouldn't show it. But if it's showing up over and over, I like to try to share it with you. So